Every kingdom has humble beginnings, and the third kingdom is no different. Fluff World invites you to build, strategize, and reclaim a world teetering on the edge, built with Futureverse technology and a vision rooted in open community growth. Hey everyone, Caveman here, and today we're going to be breaking down everything to do with TTK. As always, follow the timestamps below if you want to skip along. But first, we're going to discuss how to collect resources, prestige, and collect energy, a vital resource. This is known as Episode 1. Then we're going to dive into Episode 2, where we unlock the Archipelago and discuss strategies around how to best collect Mycelium and earn those sweet root tokens. We'll also show you how to stake and compound those tokens. But getting started, you're going to need to download the game launcher. This can be found on several Futureverse ecosystem sites, but you can find it at enterthethirdkingdom.com. There's a link below. Feel free to use that. And in the future, we might have our own game launcher. Now, once you do download that, you will install TTK, and you can also check out the other experiences you could play. When you launch the game, you're going to hear some nice music, some audio that complements the game quite well, in my opinion. And then you're going to arrive on your empty island, and you can start building. The goal is to collect resources to meet the conditions for your Lighthouse 2 prestige. This will then provide energy that you can use in Episode 2 of this game. If you have any Surrealscapes or Prisms, I'd advise adding them to your game account first. Surrealscapes will increase your yield output and allow you to place more Prisms. If you don't want to buy them, you can actually borrow them on our platform. Feel free to check that out in the link below. I would suggest setting these up early, as it will help you scale. They're not needed to progress. Prisms will also grant massive buffs, and they will be needed later to progress to Episode 2. I will talk about that in a moment, but in case you do have one, before deploying, make sure you have a solid production bonus. I advise 30% higher at the minimum. I re-rolled just a few times, and I was able to get up to 87%. You can re-roll by swapping root tokens for kingdom tokens. You can get a crazy amount of them just for like 100, 200 root, and these will be a huge advantage in leveling up your buildings as well, so I advise getting, a couple bucks of that for sure. And just to be clear, these kingdom tokens are not needed, but they are really beneficial just to help you start generating that energy, and then you can pretty much recycle that, and you'll be making more than enough root to pay for your kingdom tokens. However, the value of root does fluctuate, so I won't say that for financial advice reasons. Now that you have your Prisms and Surrealscapes deployed, you may want to assess all your production boosts, because some of these Prisms can give the huge buffs for specific resources, such as like this gym Prism. There are 5 different resources to collect, and you will need substantial quantities for each to prestige. The next step is to build out those extractors. I would suggest trying to balance your output overall. This feels to progress the smoothest. So in this example, because I have 1 gym prison, I may only opt for 2 or 1 extractor, and then use the building slots for other resource types. However, make sure you're checking the prestige each time to see if there's a specific resource that needs more than the others. Your goal is to try and have all of them come out to exactly what you need right as it hits. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time and resources. But otherwise, it's really quite simple. You can click on a building node and then choose which type, and you're done. Crank this out for each node, and you'll simply log in periodically to collect your resources. This is not a tedious land game where you have to log in every 15 minutes, collect your resources, log back out, build something. It's really meant for you just wait 6 hours, you come in, you kind of mess with it, takes a few minutes, few seconds if you're really efficient, and you can kind of go back and forth. So something that's just casual, super casual game. Now, after you wait those 6 hours, you're going to be able to go and collect your resources and upgrade your extractors. For perfect efficiency, you're going to log in every 6 hours to collect these resources and upgrade your buildings. However, if you're not someone who even wants to do 6 hours, this is a game where you can kind of build up your economy, so you check in every 12, 24 hours and still be able to do everything that you want, and that's because you can either upgrade the output or the storage. If you know you're only going to be checking in every 12 hours or 24 hours, make sure you build up the capacity so it takes that much time to fill up and your nodes are not on standby mode, not producing any of those resources. It'll become a balancing act of then upgrading storage and then production right after that, and you typically just have to bounce back and forth to maintain that 12-hour period or whatever your regular occurrence is. I would also highly suggest using kingdom coins to use your upgrades because that's just the best way to save your resources, use those resources for your prestige, and then you're able to move forward. Now, once you do have those resources required, click on your lighthouse and press the prestige. Note that any leftover resources will be destroyed, and you do have the option to mint them to the material world, where then they're going to be able to be used in other Futureverse projects. If you do decide to do this, it does cost 5,000 kingdom coins, which actually seems to be a pretty large amount. So you should only do this if you have a lot of leftover resources. I did it just so I could show you. You can see them here in my dashboard, where you can see all of the different resources there. Now, this is where I will also point out that there is one collectible you need to buy. In order to prestige, you do need to deploy a prism. Depending on how many prisms you have, it'll then increase that amount of energy that you're generating. These are unfortunately not possible to borrow, so you will have to just go. The floor price currently at the time of recording is 20 USD. This will reset the island and you'll be able to start over from the beginning. Just make sure to double check the required material for the next prestige and then plan out the best way to collect those resources. With energy in hand, you will have now unlocked episode 2, where you can go to the archipelago by clicking here. You'll now see the Mycelium totem in the center and the empty atolls on the outside. This is where you can connect up to 8 Surrealscapes that'll all have unique missions on them. The main objective is to collect that Mycelium using energy that you generated by prestiging, which can then be converted to the final root. Now, there are 2 ways that you can generate this Mycelium. One is at the Mycelium totem, where you just get a low conversion rate. I think it's 16.5% of whatever energy you put in there, and it does take some amount of time for it to go. And then the other way can be far more lucrative, but it does come at a risk of failure, and you do need other collectibles. But let's take a look at those missions by hovering and clicking on the mushrooms on the different islands. You can see the details for each mission. There'll be a max energy that you can commit towards a mission, so more that you can output if you have the energy on standby. A mission has a conversion rate, which is typically better than the totem, and then there's a chance of success and mission duration. One important thing to note is that conversion rate is also a function of how well your team performs during the mission. A 3-star, 100%, you get that full conversion. A 2-star, 75%, and a 1-star, 50%. So you really need to consider that. I would honestly suggest only going for conversions of 34% or higher. Otherwise, that 16.5 at the Mycelium totem is just worth it. It's safe and it makes sure that you get through. Your chances of success should be above 70% in my opinion. However, if you have a high risk appetite, feel free to jump in and do some crazy degen stuff. And then duration, that can only matter if you just have a lot of energy to chew through, or maybe you just want to get these missions quickly done. So that's something you can consider. But this is where a little bit of that strategy comes into play. You're going to need to add a team. This will improve your efficiency and your duration, and also potentially increase your star level. I haven't done enough testing to really understand that, but you can do this by adding guardians and collectors. These are collectibles from various NFT collections in the Futureverse ecosystem, each providing different buffs, and you can also borrow these collectibles on our platform if you don't have any and you don't want to buy them outright. Now, you can have up to 20 collectors and guardians, so this can make a massive impact on your mission. Even if it's got a low success rate at the beginning, it can be pretty high, or if it's a really long duration, you can definitely shrink it up. You will plan out and assign teams to various missions that when they finish, it'll send you an after-action report. It'll explain how much they brought home or if they failed. Now, once you do start bringing in all that Mycelium, you can convert it to a root. There's a minimum of 500, but it's 1-to-1 at the time of this recording. Not sure if that's going to change, but I imagine this is one of those levers that they have to really change or balance the game if something gets out of hand, or if they add new features and they want to mess around with it. So I imagine it could change in the future. But with that root, you can buy more kingdom coins, you can convert it to USD and get paid for playing, or you can stake it and compound those earnings. And to do this, you're going to go to the Futureverse dashboard, press the stake button. Here, you can then press stake root and choose a node to put it in, and then you're going to pay a small gas fee in root or XRP. Once that is done, just sit back and check in the future, watch it grow, see, where the game's going. Obviously, this route might be used in other aspects, especially in episode 3 or other things, but I would suggest reading the white paper, do your own research. This isn't financial advice, so staking, obviously, there's pros and cons with it and some risks, but otherwise, that's all I've got. This was my breakdown of TTK. I hope you guys are enjoying the game. If you have any other comments or thoughts of what you think needs to change in the game or what you like about it, please give us a comment below, and then subscribe, as we're going to be diving into the Futurist ecosystem with Readyverse on the horizon. I know that I'm going to make some content on that, and otherwise, that's all I got. I'll see you guys next time. Caveman logging off.